What's up, contractors? I'm here in the kitchen today to show you how you can create social media posts just like that, even if you're not a videographer, you've never done anything like it, and you can do it right with your phone. I'll show you all the tips and tricks, all the secret iPhone settings that you need to change to make that happen. Okay, so the first thing when I'm on the road with contractors, what I often hear you guys a lot of times ask is, what camera should I use? What difference does it make? Some people think they need to go all in with like a DSLR or something like that. The other thing that people think they need is a GoPro. It's more rugged, you know, it works well in the field. Honestly, above both of these, what I would recommend is your smartphone. Whether you have an iPhone, Android, anything like that, smartphone cameras at this point, with all the settings and the software that they put in them, compete with and can oftentimes under ideal conditions beat these cameras. So I'll show you what you need to change in here to get the most out of your phone. Okay, so let's dive into those phone settings. There's a bunch of, you know, secret settings and all that stuff that you gotta dive into. First thing is pull up your camera settings. We want to change our video format to 4K at 60 frames per second or 60 FPS. 4K is going to give you the highest quality resolution, and then 60 frames per second will make your video smoother. If you want to slow it down later, you can slow it down 50% and it'll still look great. Then the next thing is we want to turn on the grid. Especially if you're newer to this kind of stuff, the grid's going to help you a lot. It adds square lines on everything, so then you can figure out where to line things up, make sure the shot's level without having to think too much of it. And then you don't need any of these ProRes, ProRAW features, and it will require a lot more editing knowledge, and the files will be bigger. It's not worth the headache. Then the very last thing is, as you open up your camera, you want to swap it to, instead of just regular video, cinematic mode, or if you have it, panning mode on Android. So that's everything with there. The next thing is thinking about the space. Okay, so we are at the next step, and as you'll notice, we're still not filming yet, mainly because the thing that people often overlook is cleaning and prepping the space. Your video is only going to be as good as the space is. So the first thing to do is remove some of the stuff. While it's not inherently wrong to have things like soap dispensers, things like that, truthfully, you just want to get rid of anything that's not intentionally placed in the space. Another thing is making sure that your lighting is all good. Things like having those lights on, under cabinet lighting, making sure that the space is lit up and feels inviting. We left all these decorative cutting boards here because they're obviously intentional. They add to the feeling of the space, but they're not placed super well. So one of the things we want to do is bring in a plant of some sort. I have links in the description of the video. If you don't have any sort of set dressing, if there's none in the home, you can get cheap stuff from Amazon or Target. I have links in the description that you can get this stuff. But we want to lay it out, cover up outlets. Again, something you wouldn't do if somebody was actually living in the space, but we aren't trying to create actual reality. We're kind of creating an idealized reality. So now you have a space that it's open, still feels minimalist, but everything is intentionally placed to cover up corners, outlets, things like that. Okay, so now our space is prepped, our camera is prepped. The next thing to do is actually to shoot. We get to shoot now. So in the description of this video is our shot list that we use. I'll be using that today. So that being said, let's go through and show you how to do it. Okay, so there's two kinds of shots that we're going to capture. What you're trying to do with these videos is convey the experience of somebody walking through the space. So the first thing you want is an establishing or wide shot. This gives people a sense of the whole room. When they walk in, they immediately take it in. Then as we go through, we're going to move into detail shots. As they walk through the space, they'll be noticing bits and pieces, and it helps kind of convey the emotion of the space as well. So this first one here is we're going to do a wide shot in from this angle. I'm going to go back here and start recording, and then I'm just going to do a nice slow, smooth movement. Nothing too long. You're kind of shooting for 3 to 5 seconds. The importance isn't that you're trying to make it extra long and you're taking a bunch of steps and it's a little wobbly. It's really supposed to be just start recording, one solid movement, and then you're done. Kind of one of the funny things is you might not initially think to shoot something like flowers because it's not, you didn't make the flowers, they're in the space, but they actually kind of convey the emotion of the space. Let's find a good angle here. I'm gonna move that up just for this. Yeah, there we go. Again, nothing crazy, just short and simple shots. Sometimes people will do, you know, like a pan shot or they'll back up. Again, we're trying to recreate the feeling of somebody walking through the space. So the way I do it is I limit all our movements to a motion in or sideways or kind of like an orbiting shot like that. Those are the only three I use. Sometimes as the very last shot in a video, I'll pull out as if you're leaving, but if you go back and forth, it can be kind of confusing even if you don't know why. Okay, that shot, that shot, that shot, 1, 2, 3. Let's get one through here, through the, oh, that ghost. Okay, here we go. A good example of an orbiting shot. We have a wide there, and then we'll go in and do a close-up on these. It doesn't need to be long. You aren't trying to make something super long. We're gonna piece all this together. So even if it's just a couple seconds like this, you will now have a bunch of shots that you can use for a ton of different social media posts. If all of this still seems daunting to you, I'd recommend this video right here where you can create a very similar outcome through photos and AI. Then if you feel like you're solid and you're ready to move on to the next step of how do I piece these together into a social media post, here's a video where we show you how you can edit these into a bunch of really good stuff.